Good evening, everyone. My name's Tim. I'm an addict. Very glad to be here. Now, uh, the trouble is with steps 10 and 11 is it looks, if you read page 59 of the book, that step 10 is about personal inventory and step 11 is about prayer and meditation. But that little summary of the steps on pages 59 to 60, it's just there as a little summary. The detail of all of the steps is far broader than can be summed up in that little summary. And the truth is, there's a fair amount of prayer and meditation in step 10, and there's a fair amount of personal inventory in step 11. I'd say the difference between the two, step 10 focuses more on inventory but has some prayer and meditation, and step 11 focuses chiefly on prayer and meditation but has some inventory. When I got clean, which was in 1993, when people did step 10, and that was quite a big if. The reason the way people did it was they would do something called their step tens. You'd be in a meeting and someone said, "I've been doing my step tens." And what they meant by that is they sat down at about 20 to midnight, dog tired, completely mad, having spent the day running around doing whatever they want, thinking, now I'm going to do a miniature step 4 with a pen and a piece of paper with columns and everything. And then wretched email came in and people started sending these awful doggerels to each other. And this whole industry grew up with apps where you're encouraged to do a miniature step 4 every night and then send it to 47 of your closest enemies. Now I've done this. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's better than half a dozen other things I could be getting up to at that time. But the question is it step 10? Well, if you say it's step 10, I suppose it is. But my question is not what does Sally think is step 10 or what does Neville say is step 10, but what does the book say step 10 is? Now, the difficulty with saying, well, step 10 is doing a miniature step 4 every night is you miss the actual step 10. So it's not really a harmless mistake. So what does step 10 actually say? Well, let's read the book. We've got 3 paragraphs to get through and 22 minutes left. So buckle up. We'll see if we get through it. Step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. Now, the first lesson I learned from this is that I'm to be clearing up the mess as I go through the day. I'm not supposed to be uh, collecting little nuggets of unhappiness, wrapping them up in silver paper, and then unwrapping them at 10 to midnight to have a good old look at them. I'm supposed to be clearing things up as I go. Now, if you think about driving a car, there are three sorts of things that you have to do to keep the car on the road. The first one is have a periodic MOT or similar, if you're in America, taking it to a body shop and having it looked after and having engineers look at it. We call it an MOT, and you have one of those occasionally, and that's like step 4. And one occasionally does a step 4 a couple of times a year, 3 times a year. You sit down for a day and sort everything out, get your head clear about things. Then there are some daily things you have to do. You might have to clean out the cup holders, you might have to fill it with petrol, you might have to put some air in the tyres, you might have to plot out where you're going. And this is what step 11 is. And then step 10 is the everything else. So of the 3, the step which is practiced most constantly and consistently is step 10. And the actions of it are fairly light. They're little adjustments of the steering wheel, but without those, the car will go off the road. So that's my concept of step 10. It's something I'm doing as I'm going along through the day. Next line. By the way, why are we doing this? I'll tell you very briefly. I can see there's a bunch of people probably in a dry house or a treatment centre on, so you're very welcome, and people might be very new. So here's some basic ideas. My brain doesn't work, and so I need something other than me to stop me having the first drink or drug. That's kind of it. And so that thing is not another person or even a group. People can help, groups can help. That thing is God. And the way I have a relationship with God is I try and do God's will rather than what my lower nature would suggest to me. And that involves a little circuit of in the morning saying, what do you want me to do? Doing it, and then debriefing later in the day, once the business of the day is over and before the evening sets in. Reviewing what's happened and recalibrating myself for the next day. And so step 10 in the book is one part of that. Next line, we vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So I was encouraged by my first sponsor and other people around me, the grown-ups. I was encouraged by them to start doing steps 10, 11 and 12 as soon as I was physically sober. As soon as I was 2 days sober, I could help someone that was 1 day sober. As soon as I was learning things in recovery, I could share them in meetings. If you hear someone who is sharing good things in meetings and you're thinking cynically, they're not speaking from experience, they're just parroting, good for them! Hooray! Marvellous! The more they parrot it, the more it will go into their little brains and the greater the chance that they'll actually incorporate it into their life. So good for them! I'd rather hear inauthentic primo content than authentic misery. So good for anyone who's turning it round straight away. It will become authentic in time. That takes about 10 to 20 years, so don't hold your breath. Next line. We have entered the world of the spirit. You could talk about that for ages, but basically it's this. You're not a physical body. Your physical body is where you're living right now. The spirit is the bit of you which is connected with God. And the whole thing of being in the physical world is a bit of an experiment. All the way through the book, it tells us that we're actors playing roles. We're here to play roles. The actor isn't the role. So I have an occupation. I'm also a husband. I'm a brother. I'm an all sorts of things to all sorts of different people. Those are just roles I'm playing in rep. None of them are who I am. And the reason why I never need to be frightened of anything is because the only things that can happen to me aren't really potentially happening to me. They can only happen to those roles. They can only happen to my role as worker or husband or sponsor or group member or someone who happens to be in possession of a physical body. You can do something to the roles, but you can't do anything to me. And I'd like to see you try. I say that to the world generally. I'd like to see you try doing something to me. You haven't done anything in the last 55 years. I don't think you're able to. Things can affect my body, my circumstances, my situation, my whatever. They can affect my something, but they can't affect me. The only way I'm affected is if I hook my emotions into those things by investing in them. Who gives a shit what the FTSE index does unless you've got investments on it? If you've got investments, you're going to worry about it. If you don't care. If I don't have an investment in the world, I can't be hurt by anything. So that's the notion of entering the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Effectiveness in what? Doing God's will. Understanding what? Understanding how the world works, how I operate, how other people operate. I spend a lot of time each day talking with people, essentially saying, what just happened? What did we just witness? What is going on inside me and you and them and the world? How does everything work? Not an idle question. If you don't understand what you're dealing with, you can't deal with it. And this means when it comes to people, organisations, systems. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. And now here's the key instruction, to continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment and fear. Now, without a programme, I will simply go through my life being those characters, forgetting that I'm an actor playing those characters. My job is to look at myself from the outside. Of course, one has to play things by ear and essentially operate automatically a lot of the time. But to develop this extra eye, like one's own elf on the shelf, observing oneself, what's going on? Am I sticking to the straight and narrow? Am I getting disturbed in any way? And this little catalogue of things to look out for really covers everything that can go wrong. Resentment is when I'm upset at something that is a fact. Fear is when I'm upset about something I speculate to be the case. Sometimes in the future, sometimes in the past, sometimes in the present. So resentment and fear essentially are the two forms of upset. Dishonesty is when I'm not telling the truth and I ought to tell the truth. There are times when one should exercise reason and caution and diplomacy and tact and consideration and all sorts of other virtues to only say in the end about 2% of what comes into one's head. But if I need to say something and I misrepresent, that's dishonesty. There's also self-deception, and there's also scheming and plotting. Selfishness is any other character defect, specifically of behaviour. And motivation too, but chiefly behaviour. So what I'm looking out for is any way in which my, let's keep it simple, attitude or action is getting out of whack, getting out of line with what it should be. Because my ordinary state should be just buzzing along, getting on with the thing in front of me and not worrying about anything. Not being in the past, not being in the future, not being over there, not being in someone else's head, God forbid. Mine's very nice. I do not want to be in anyone else's head anymore. Now, it says when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. Well, that removes all the fun, doesn't it? That means I don't get to talk about what upsets me. I really don't. There's one exception in step 11. Occasionally I'll need to discuss things, or something very major may arise which I need to discuss with someone. But I find that almost everything goes away if I do exactly this. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. I don't need to analyse a resentment or a fear ever again, unless I'm doing step 4, which requires a particular, very brief, systematic and non-self-indulgent form of analysis. I've already proved that to be upset with facts is folly and futile, and makes me miserable, and cuts me off from God, and leaves me open to compulsions and the resumption of drinking. We know that fear is the same but just cast into the future. It serves no purpose whatsoever. Caution and prudence serve a purpose. Fear serves no purpose. I don't need to prove one more time that resentment needs to go, that fear needs to go. We've already decided that. We've already decided in steps 3 and 7 that character defects, they weren't ever defences which now no longer serve me. If they ever did good, they wouldn't have been defects, they would have been virtues. So we've proven systematically in the steps so far that these don't deserve room in my heart, in my mind, in my life. Now, whenever we ask God to do something, you think, well, this is nice. It's like asking a waiter, remove my plate, waiter. That's not how it works, because we're in an agency relationship with God. That's per page 62. What does that mean? That means God's in charge, but God gives me things to do. So God is the boss, I'm the agent who acts on behalf of God. So whenever I'm asking God to do something, I'm pushing the dossier over to the other side of the desk, and God immediately pushes things back to me. What has God pushed back to me? What my attitude should be instead, what my action should be instead. AA, altered attitudes, altered actions. attitudes and actions. And that runs all the way through the book. Whenever you're asking God to do something, God is immediately giving you lots of things to do. So the way the correction takes place, this is powered and directed by God, but I'm the one that needs to change my attitude and change my action. If I'm late for things, God's not going to make me on time. If I think fearful thoughts, God is not going to get between the fearful thoughts and the feeling of fear that ensues from the fearful thoughts. I need to stop it. Now it says, we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends if we have harmed someone. The amends bit is absolutely clear. I discuss these matters with someone immediately only if there's something novel, if I really can't see my way through it, or if it's so distracting me and bugging me, I need to just have a quick word with someone, clear the head, get on with the day. But as I said earlier, this isn't license to clog up the airwaves with endless dreary recitals of, this affects my self-esteem. No one cares. No one cared much during step 4 and 5, but they really don't care now. Step 10 is the growing up step. If something happens that you don't like, immediately adjust and say, right, what are we going to do about it? Not to wallow. Unhappiness is not necessary. You're going to have some feelings as part of the orchestra of emotions. Unhappiness is not necessary. Next line. Now, if you're in the first 9 steps, you're going to still have the wreckage of the past pumping out noxious fumes. So until you've completed step 9, you might have to hold your nose for a bit with the emotions. But when step 9 is being completed, you're free, you're good to go. You're good to be happy. You're free and easy to be happy. God wants us to be happy, joyous and free, and that's an instruction. So it says, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. There you go. I ask God to remove a character defect or all of my character defects, and I'm immediately to turn my mind and my actions outwards. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Sometimes people say that CA is all about love and we just need to love each other, and that's lovely. I love love. Love's lovely. I had a lot of love when I was using. Didn't do me the blindest bit of good. It's when everyone... the thing you don't want as an addict is unconditional love, which means there are never any consequences. I got consequences from people when I got enough consequences from enough people because they weren't loving me unconditionally, they were loving me conditionally. Then I was left alone and I had to get well. So that sense of sentimental love or attachment or whatever you do to me, I'm going to continue showing up for you, doesn't work. That'll kill people, so stop it. What does it mean then? Love and tolerance of others is our code. I know I'm a little bit opinionated. I'm having a day of it actually. So if you don't like it, well, that's all right, because we don't have to be friends. If it's helpful, that's great too. But we don't all have to be the same. We don't all have to get on. We just have to pretend to be nice to each other. Got it? Great. Okay. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Now, how do I do that? That means I'm to wish other people well and I'm to act in their benefit, but only where it's appropriate. I'm to wish them well under all circumstances, but I'm to act in their benefit only if it's the right thing to do. So I can do things for others they can't do for themselves, but I should not do for others what they should do for themselves. I don't rescue damsels in distress. Love and tolerance. Tolerance means if you're getting it wrong, I don't need to tell you. If I'm getting it wrong, you don't need to tell me. It works both ways. So you just leave everyone be. Everyone does this differently. It's fine. It's fine. It means if people annoy me, I don't get to set boundaries and say, you crossed my boundary. When you did that, it made me feel... none of that. You just say, okay, jog on, see ya. If you don't like them, these boundary crossing people, stop showing up for them and find some people you do like. I don't need to set boundaries because I've got nice people in my life. But I got choices today. I have. I can choose to be surrounded by people I like, and it's much nicer. And I'm nicer because of it as well. If you want your, if you, I'm a bit of an asshole, and the best way to stop me being an asshole is to put me around people I like. I'm much less of an asshole then. I haven't changed. My life has changed. The way I live has changed. I don't have to change. I have to change what I think, what I believe, what I do, where I go, what I say, and to whom. But all my character defects are all still there. Because a character defect is either a potential or a performance. God doesn't remove the potential to be a jerk, but he can direct me to live in such a way that I don't have to behave like a jerk half as much as I used to. Next bit. Now, we've got the so-called Step 10 promises. But some of these can be turned into instructions very helpfully. We have ceased fighting anything or anyone. Ugh, what a relief. Maybe some fighting in the world is necessary. But remember page 61, the reformers who want to change everything. Maybe there's room in the world for them, but it's no good for me. It's no good me making lists of all of the categories of people in the world that need to change for the world to be okay, and then going on social media on a little as the vanguard of change. I'm just not built for that. I'm too belligerent. I'm too combative. And I think that's got a little bit to do with the addiction. Who knows? It's certainly got a lot to do with ego. If I'm going to stay well, I need to stay out of debates and controversies. It doesn't do me any good, doesn't do them any good. Stop fighting. What I do, I can stand firm for myself, but not in opposition to someone else. I can passively resist things, and I do passively resist things. There are things I won't do, there are places I won't go, but I don't need to change anyone. It then says the content of the Step 10 promises is essentially this. If I fulfill the Step 3 requirement, which is to recognise that me living life in charge doesn't work, and instead stay close to God, perform his work well, I'll be kept safe from the first drink. And then the third paragraph of Step 10. Essentially, it's this idea of going through the day saying, what do you want me to do next, God? What do you want me to do next, God? It's essentially an injunction against strategizing my life. I don't need to work out where I'm going to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. Okay, get a pension, maybe. But I don't need to try to structure or build my life. I've got a really good life. Life O'Reilly. But it's got that way, not because I designed it that way, but because I did this and then that and then that and then that, and a new life was built for me. And I didn't design a damn brick of it. All I ever have to do, and this is the trust that's required. The world is full of people telling you to strategize, to follow your dreams, to work out what you want and to go for it and to have plans. And I don't do any of that. I haven't done that for 25 years. I used to do that and it was a disaster. Every time I jumped out of a frying pan, it was into a fire, which turned out to be a frying pan in an even bigger fire. I don't bother. I'm too tired. I'm too old to do any of that. And so I keep it in the day. I keep it in the hour. I keep it in the what am I doing right now? What's your will for me? It's terribly simple. But the last little point, it says we can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. As I say, I'm a bit belligerent and feisty and all of those things. My job is to take that energy and to plough it into doing every single thing in front of me to the absolute best of my ability, regardless of how important it seems, regardless of whether anyone is watching, regardless of whether anyone will ever know. It's becoming a good craftsman in the stead of being one of those awful modern ambitious people. I don't want to be one of those. I want to be a good craftsman, to be good at what I do. And the way I do that is by not worrying about results, by concerning myself with process. Get the process right, and the results take care of themselves. That's all I got. Thanks.